The basis of this program is fact that all of us, regardless of our beliefs, can do nothing but profit from a free exchange of ideas. Using that yardstick, now to our story.
The Brock Wally Show. The news.
Here is an illustrated summary of the news, happenings at home and abroad.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Brock Wally program. My name is Brock Wally, and I am your fearless host. I got to tell you, I'm thrilled. Apparently, leftists, Democrats, regressive, progressive thinkers have stopped procreating since Trump, ladies and gentlemen. They're so worked up. They can't find their sex drive. Joy Behar has told us from The View, and we all know this is a beacon of wisdom and solid golden nuggets of truth, is what everybody thinks of when they think of The View. That henfest of insanity. She tells us that the bedrooms are cold. Across the fruity plains, across the nation, the bedrooms have dried up like the Sahara Desert. Why? Because Trump is president. And liberal women they just don't want anything to do with their evil men. Evil men who talk like Trump, who look like Trump, act like Trump, think like Trump. Misogyny raining from the skies, ladies and gentlemen. But I see nothing but silver lining. I see nothing but silver lining, ladies and gentlemen, because the less, now already Democrats were just too narcissistic and troubled to procreate anyway. The procreation rate in the Upper East Side is horrendous. If left alone, if you wall these fools off, they'll be dead in a generation. Just sheer procreation rate. But ladies and gentlemen, it's even worse now. I mean, they couldn't be troubled to procreate prior to this. And for all I know, and I think I'm right about this, Joy Behar hasn't procreated anyway. I could be wrong about that, though. Hasn't married, won't marry, has gone on many diatribes about how marriage is terrible for women, all this nonsense. You know, just a fire-breathing, ball-burning feminist of the highest and tallest order. Miserable woman. I mean, you can smell miserable on her. I mean, the poor sap that's married to this woman. I mean, I got nothing but mercy and grace for this guy. He probably crawls up in a fetal position and barks like a dog in the basement. And Joy will throw him down doggy bones from time to time. Ladies and gentlemen, I just every day it just gets more and more awesome. The left beside themselves. It's just been phenomenal. It's been phenomenal. Every single member of this astonishing dream team Avengers-like compilation of a cabinet, the left throwing out every hyperbolic. Every time there's somebody appointed, it's Hitler, straight to the top of the roof, volume all the way up. Hitler, or whatever, Weimar Republic, or whatever nonsense is rolling off their lips. Ben Carson, ladies and gentlemen, Ben Carson's the worst thing since the Ebola, full-blown AIDS. I mean, these people, they don't realize clearly calling your political opponents anti-old people, anti-women, anti-gay, anti-black, anti-child, anti-worker, and that recipe, that cocktail of crazy worked during the election splendidly. So what do? Second verse, same as the first. Back to the playbook. Why? There's nothing else. But I find it amazing. Because the American people clearly responded to that with a rebuke. And I guess the left just has no creativity. I guess the left has nothing else. But I just want them to continue it. I want them to pound that ridiculous drum every day. Drive that nonsense into the ground, because conservative power will continue to grow. I promise you that. It will continue to grow if they keep doing this. And I'm not being facetious. I'm not being lighthearted. I'm not looking at best case scenario here. I'm telling you, that's going to happen. The left is hopeless in a buoy of their own making, drifting in a vast ocean of their own creation. Ben Carson, a man who grew up in Detroit, single mother, total poverty, thrived in a public school that was abysmal, by the way, became the leading neurosurgeon in the world, and this guy is a monster? That's what they're selling? This guy's a monster? Hey, I don't know. And some of my friends will be like, Brock, it's just preposterous that some of these picks are being chosen without any... Now, they're not saying this, but I'll translate for you. Without any bureaucratic experience. They don't have any experience in government. They don't have any experience in Washington, D.C., to which I say, hip, hip, hooray! of Americans share my sentiment. Listen, who cares if they don't have any experience? That's like saying they don't have any experience. The doctor that they've chosen to perform the surgery has no experience in Dr. Kevorkian put him down like a rabies-bitten dog medicine. I mean, Brock, they have no the doctor that's going to operate you has no experience on putting down patients like old Yeller. Aren't you concerned with this? No, I'm not concerned. The problem is bureaucracy. The problem is government experience. The problem is government. So that these guys don't have government experience is wonderful. It's exactly so they missed the whole point. But I don't even think, personally, by the way, just to backtrack, I don't even think that's the problem. I really don't. I would bet my house, I would bet my home, I would give the deed to my home, that every one of these clowns on Facebook and social media is like, oh my goodness, these people don't have experience. Without a Google bar, if you went up to them with a loaded rifle, said, name Obama's HUD secretary, they wouldn't know his HUD secretary. They wouldn't know his name. They wouldn't know his experience. They wouldn't know any of that stuff. So what do they mean when they oppose Dr. Carson? Or what do they mean when they oppose these cabinet picks? Well, they oppose Trump. They oppose conservatism, to which I say, fair enough. But please spare me the sanctimonious, this person doesn't have an experience. I mean, oh my goodness. I mean, what are we going to do with all this experience? I'm not buying these Girl Scout cookies of deception. Pass on your grass. Because it's nothing but you don't like it because it's not leftism. That's what. Hey, look, at least if you say that, I can have some respect for you. Anyway, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. That's what I think. That's what I say. And look, I'm no sycophant. I don't agree with Trump on everything. I don't. In fact, I'm planning on doing a podcast laying out for my audience exactly where I disagree with Trump, because there's a lot of areas I do. But oh my goodness, this cabinet is full of rock stars. This is amazing, guys. Absolutely amazing. Anybody who tells you differently is lying, is lying. Now, guys, I might do a whole podcast on the cabinet, just breaking it down. I might not do that either. I'm not sure. It might be too boring. But let's just touch on some of this, all right? I mean, again, in my opinion, one of the greatest Avengers cast of a cabinet for the United States of America, and more specifically the American people and the needs of the American people that I've ever seen in my life. But here's the thing that's interesting. Again, the media refuted. Again, the media caught lying. Trump putting together the fastest cabinet in human history, and I mean that in human history. That means let's tone that down a bit. Not human history, American history. American history. Seriously, one of the fastest. And what did we hear? We heard, Trump's tripping over his shoelaces. Trump's a debacle. All this stuff is just made. By the way, the latest polls on trust in the media is 3%. Spent all their capital, spent all their credibility. They have none now. I personally think there should be some sort of boycott in the American media, and I'd love to lead one. But nonetheless, one of the fastest. So the only reason I point that out, and again, that's thedailysignal.com. The only reason I point that out is just, again, to refute the left. Luckily, they come out with these things. It washes under the bridge of their nonsense, and then they come out. They're just making this up as they go. They just say things. It's just throwing nails and shrapnel and glass on the street to try to slow down the Trump train. But anyway, thedailysignal.com has that. Trump chooses another general, which I am thrilled of as a vet, but also because these guys are exactly who we need. Homeland Security, who better than a general? And by the way, these generals are amazing men. Did you know one of the generals that he ended up picking lost his son in the war on terror? Now, how does that not give you credibility? I'm serious. How does that not give you credibility? This man, certainly one of the elite, certainly could have pulled strings. I mean, does anybody deny this? Certainly could have found a way not to sacrifice his own on the altar of freedom, but believes in it. But believes in service. I mean, this cabinet is made of rock stars. Jeff Sessions, the whole 9 yards. Tom Prince, Department of Health and Human Services. I mean, these guys are just insanely awesome guys. But again, now he's up to 3 generals in leadership. And I just love it. Look, who did Obama pick? John Kerry, which by every standard is a treasonous traitor. So these guys are just cities on a hill by way of my perspective. New York Times, I'm hyperventilating on that one. The EPA selection's got to be one of the best I've ever seen. Scott Pruitt. A dream selection. And in this, after Trump met Al Gore. I mean, this guy has got these guys spinning all over the place like a top. The EPA is a nightmare. Do you guys remember Barack Obama? By the way, for the left to be complaining about the EPA pick is astonishing to me. The EPA under Barack Obama poisoned the Colorado River. Of course, there was no reporting on that. That's the level of competence in the EPA. The EPA was a hijacked branch of government to tyrannize business and to implement an unelected branch of government, by the way, to tyrannize the U.S. economy via the Environmental Protection Agency. This guy's going to use he doesn't care about the environment. He doesn't care about the environment, Brock. No, he cares about the environment. But he also cares about business and prosperity. He cares about people. Wonderful pick. Wonderful pick. And of course, you can always know this. You can always know this by how ridiculously turned into pretzel-like frustration you have the New York Times. So I turn your opinion. If the New York Times is butt-puckered enough to create a diamond, this is a wonderful pick. Just take that to the bank, all right? If the New York Times is seething, a wonderful pick. = wonderful pick. And Mitch, let me tell you, this joke Mitch McConnell, who I can't stand, who remains our Republican leadership, better get this guy confirmed. I can just tell you that. Wall Street Journal thrilled over the choice. Another great pick for small business. McMahon, this woman, first of all, we're going to be wonderful for small business owners. The WWE entrepreneur, just private sector experience, not a bureaucrat. Wonderful choice. Wonderful. Not enough experience, not enough bureaucrat experience, not enough Washington, D.C. experience, not enough experience being a politician. Hip, hip, hooray, baby. Hip, hip, hooray. That's all I'm going to tell you. Wonderful, wonderful choice. TheHill.com has that story if you want to know about that. Taiwan, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in downshifting a little bit, ecstatic over Trump's call. A breath of fresh air. Tired of watching the U.S. kowtow to China like a whipping boy, and I totally agree. By the way, everywhere I go, now that I'm in Taiwan, I'm going to tell them I voted for Trump. I'll probably get free cab rides. The whole country is ecstatic. Left beside themselves. Formality broken. You mean to tell me that we're going to assert ourselves? Do you mean to tell me that we're going to claim that we're morally superior? Do you mean to tell me that we're going to continue to push forward our values onto the world? Yes, that's what I mean to tell you. Yes, it's the way it should be. Yes, the answer is yes. Asserting our way in China, asserting our way over Russia, asserting our way in the world because we're morally better. Because this way of moving the country and nation by proxy forward is better. The structure of economic thriving, better. This arrangement of free government, better. We're better. It's better. It's fine to say that because it's true. Not flawless. We're not demigods. Doesn't mean we can't improve. But when you compare us to every other example of democracy, when you compare us to every other person that could be big dog on the tree, the United States is better. And it's time we start saying that. That's what nationalism means. It doesn't mean that we're going to trample you or invade you or all the hyperbolic nonsense you're hearing from the left. It means when you compare the rest of the world to the United States of America, we are better. So yes, we should be asserting those ideas. Yes, we should be speaking about those ideas in black and white terms. The left just cringes. I know this. I hang out with all these faculty lounge liberals. They're just, what are you talking about, Brock? How can you say such a definitive things? It's easy. Hear me say this. It's better. It's not hard. It's not complicated. Listen to me. It's very, very clear in the King's English. Open up your ears. Clean out the wax. It's better. I've been everywhere. I've been in the Middle East. I've been in Southwest Asia. I've been all over the place, all through Europe. The United States' way of doing it is better. The Judeo-Christian way of values, better. The centralized family, father, mother, better. Capitalism, better. This is very clear. Don't mince words. Ladies and gentlemen, if Trump wants to build a wall, he can. The most interesting part about the article, by the way, I'm going to send you, Washington Examiner, is the last paragraph, by the way. When you realize as an American citizen how little a border actually exists between you and Mexico, it's astonishing the derelict failure of one of the fundamental constitutional obligations of the federal government, which is to protect the American people. But anyway, it's fascinating. Not only can he do it, he can legally do it. It's amazing. And by the way, what's interesting about it is it's one of the areas that Trump has the most experience, right? He has the most practical hands-on experience in building. I mean, this guy knows what he's doing. And by the way, it's also one of his most repeated campaign promises. As a side note, ladies and gentlemen, Riley, who I love, by the way, writing in the Wall Street Journal. If you compare Riley to Blowhard in the New York Times, these two men could not be more different in wisdom and thoughtfulness. But the conservative Riley asked the questions: why isn't Ellison, who's shaping up to be the leader, or at least the PR leader of the Democratic Party, why isn't he a quote unquote member of the alt left? This guy's a radical Muslim with track record of saying the most bigoted, ridiculous things, maybe if anybody in Washington, D.C. Why isn't he a member of the alt, quote unquote alt right? Well, because the media doesn't think like that. There's no extreme on the left. It's just out of the mainstream of politics, which equal sign means not a Democrat. But anyway, it's an awesome point. It's an awesome perspective shared on Facebook. Wall Street Journal has that piece. Why isn't Ellison their pick to run their party, at least on the PR front? Why isn't he radical? Why isn't he outside the mainstream? A radical Muslim who's said anti-American things with every breath of his lungs. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, a food editor, for goodness sake. A food editor publishes a recipe. Just a food recipe. I think it was Kudel or something. A food recipe by Ivanka Trump. And she gets hate mail and death threats by the left. A recipe, ladies and gentlemen. Forward.com/food if you want to check up on this. Ladies and gentlemen, I remind you, who is the hateful? The answer is the left, the Democratic left. Who is the small-minded? The Democratic left. Who is bigoted? The Democratic left. You can't even publish a food recipe from Ivanka without getting death threats. And she's like, I regret it. My whole life is turned upside down. These people are the most regressive, closed-minded, hateful, bigoted people on the planet, ladies and gentlemen. On the planet. Thank you for listening to the Brock Lawley program. Now more than ever, be a people of fortitude, be a people of character, and I'm telling you, you're going to need this. You're going to need this to stoke your engine. Be a people of courage.
Democrats will regret the power grab